You calling from Florida like Dean is? Go ahead, Dean. Rub it in.
Yeah.
How warm is it down there today?
Yesterday was 81. I didn't check today. I think it was maybe even higher.
Well, you have
Got
a
nice color, Dean.
you have a
Thank
beautiful color,
Nice
Dean.
color.
Thank you.
We
Okay.
are streaming live.
Streaming live, Traffic and Transportation Committee.
Yep. Welcome to Traffic and Transportation tonight, this Thursday, March 2nd. Happy birthday, Dr. Seuss, for those who are keeping score at home. We have tonight on the agenda a review of the various festivals in the area with all the stipulations that we will review and then vote on. And then later on, we have the MTA here to discuss the buses and transportation, and Doris will actually lead us in that portion of the meeting. I welcome everybody here this evening, and I will turn it over now to Dan. Do you want to go first and kind of go over, or Chip?
Yeah, so the first, we did have first on the internal review, Third Avenue Festival.
Third Avenue, right.
Which this year will be October 1st, 2023. It's SAPO, that's the Street Activity Permit Office, event ID 685137. The location is 3rd Avenue between Bay Ridge Avenue at 94th Street. So Dan, I don't know if you or Chip.
No, I'm going to defer to Chip.
Okay.
Don't we all?
Can you hear me?
We hear you, Chip, yes.
Okay. What do you need to know?
So has anything changed from last year?
Well, basically, yeah, big change. It's not going to rain this year. All right.
Oh, that's right. That's
Please.
right.
Oh,
Yes, it was
man.
First time in 49 years it's been rained out. First time. The big news is this year it's the 50th anniversary.
Oh.
50 years. It's the oldest single-day festival in the city. We're the first ones to hit the 50-year mark. So we plan on really blowing it out this year. A lot more activity. I'm working on celebrities right now. Massive advertising. We may even go cable. But we plan on making it a super event. We have to recover from last year's event. One thing I can ask everybody who's on right now is we definitely want every nonprofit community organization to participate. So I have applications. I should get some to Josephine so that people can apply at the community board too. Just pick up the application and send it in. But the past couple of years, that amount of nonprofits has dropped off. And we try to keep Third Avenue a very community-oriented festival. So we've already started working on it. All the vendor applications have gone out. The nonprofit organizations should be going out within a week or two. I have everything ready.
Great.
So we're looking to make it a spectacular event. Trying to increase the amount of participation from merchants. We're lucky we have a strong merchants association once again. Thanks a lot in part to Dan for doing a great job. So it looks like it should be a spectacular event this year. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them now.
Chip, I know this
Yes.
might be unanswerable, but if you go out to a larger area with advertising, is there anything we have to do maybe to be prepared for much larger crowds? I mean, I know we usually get a very good crowd anyway. I'd just be concerned that the crowd could be too massive.
I'll tell you, this is my 46th year doing this, and I have seen it, the crowd has dwindled, no matter what anybody tells you. We used to have it where you were bumper to bumper walking down the street. It hasn't been that crowded, We have had a reduction in vendors too. There's a lot less vendors actually performing now. The advantage we have, I call it an advantage, you could say it's a disadvantage, is that it's on the same day as Atlantic Antic. So yeah, but we face that all the time. It's a different element, different crowd. But I think we're looking to draw it back. But we're well known as a family-oriented community event. So it's a little bit different than a lot of the other festivals in the city. So I'm not worried about it being too crowded.
Okay, good.
There'd be no place there's no place to park now. So the crowd comes from Jersey, they'll be parking in the Bronx to get here. So
We're taking the train.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you, Chip.
You're
So
Okay.
we can move on to the next one, or we can just sort of read the stipulations and vote on it. It depends on.
Yeah,
how
you know what? Why don't we do that? I'll go through Chip. It's the same stipulations. I'll just read
Right.
to the committee members. We do have a few new committee members. The stipulations have remained the same. You know, we really haven't had last year was a rain out. So the stipulations for 2023 is that the NYPD amplified sound permit will end at 6 p.m. That's the event time, ending time. Amplified sound permits will be issued at the discretion of the Third Avenue merchants, and all applicants must adhere to the New York City Noise Code regulations and the New York Police Department rules relating to sound permits. A list of permits will be provided to community board 10 in advance. DSNY must begin cleaning at 6 p.m. Cleaning must commence at Bay Ridge Avenue or wherever, you know, you work out, Chip, where the cleaning will begin. All SLA licensed premises applying for the one-day outdoor use must submit a signed letter notifying CB10 of their SLA licensed premise received the SAPO festival rules as well as stipulation agreement with CB10 and will comply with all rules during both events. Violations of SAPO rules will be subject to enforcement. Establishments that do not obtain a one-day SLA permit will not be permitted to serve alcohol. Festival marshals must report any vendor or business selling alcohol to NYPD for enforcement. The distribution of festival regulations to all participating vendors and merchants. And the Third Avenue merchants as sponsor will attend an interagency meeting organized by Community Board 10 with the leadership of NYPD, Department of Sanitation, SAPO, and DOT. Chip, is that good? That's the same as last year or in the year before that.
Did he leave?
Did we lose Chip?
Did we lose Chip?
I have a question, if you don't
Yes.
mind.
Sure.
Dan. The restaurants that have outdoor seating right now are allowed to serve outside. Do they still have to get a outdoor permit?
So the restaurants, that's a good question now. So the restaurants that are serving outdoors had to, they had to complete a state liquor authority alteration application. So they probably would not have to. Because they've already made that alteration. But if that could just be noted, you know, Dan, when we get the lists, that should be fine.
Okay. I know the Kettle Black took theirs away now, so that's that whole row is clean there. I don't know if they're going to put it back up, but
Right.
there's still
Okay.
a CBO. There's a bunch of them still out there. So okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Did we lose Chip?
I think so.
Okay.
Or Les is, yeah. I mean, he's still there, but oh wait, there's two of them again.
We have two Chips again.
Okay. So
Okay.
Anthony, I if there's no further questions.
Yeah, we can vote. Are you going to do the voting?
Yes, I was just
Amazing.
Okay, does everyone see it? I'm sorry, I guess we need a motion officially. I think we
She's
need-
right. Do I have a
I'll
motion to
make-
vote?
I'll
uh,
make the motion. to
Dean?
approve.
Diane, second, and
I'll
Dean.
second.
Okay, yep.
Okay, everyone?
They're voting now.
Okay, everyone, motion carries, it's unanimous.
Yeah.
Okay, so next
you.
is Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue Festival,
Can
which
you hear me, Josephine?
I can, Chip.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
back. Thank you.
Okay, good. I don't see you, but I could hear you. So
Um,
next is the Fifth Avenue Festival, which will take place, let's see, June 4th,
June 4th.
2023, at the same time, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the location will be Fifth Avenue between Bay Ridge Avenue and 85th Street. Chip,
Yes.
any changes there for Fifth Avenue?
No, not so far. Like, all I can tell you is I thought last year's Fifth Avenue Festival was the best festival I ever did
Wow.
in all the years. I thought it was the best one. It was well run, not by the board, by all the people involved. So we plan on keeping everything basically the same this year. I was just very pleased with it last year.
Great.
Very good. All right, anyone have any questions?
Anybody questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, Steve?
Steve?
Yeah, I just wanted to, Chip, why does it stop at 85th Street? I've always wondered that.
Because the bid goes from 65th to 85th. That's the parameters of the Fifth Avenue bid. So that's why they ended it at 85th Street.
Well, that's interesting, because I didn't realize that. Why is it, for example, there's quite a few stores that are between 86 and even 87th? I mean, why is it stopped there?
Because that's the 86th Street bid begins at Fifth Avenue.
Okay, gotcha.
85th
Okay,
Street.
gotcha.
The different bid.
Right, got it. Now I recall that. Right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
right,
let's
so
see,
we're-
we do have one question from the public. Jean Ryan. Hold on a moment. Jean, you should be allowed
Hi.
to speak. You have a
Hi.
question about Fifth Avenue?
I just wanted to say in regard to any of these things, any of the outdoor celebrations, is that in about a month, the city council, this is the last I heard recently, they're going to vote on the outdoor restaurants. So, and they're planning on having a different setup for the ones in the street. So that may affect whatever happens next fall or summer, but you can't do anything about it now
Right,
because they haven't finalized it. They haven't put the new bill out and they haven't voted on it. But Justin said they were going to do it in about a month.
okay, all right, thank you so much. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so Anthony, if it's okay with everyone, we could waive the reading because the stipulations are
Stipulations.
exactly the same as I
Yep.
read for Third Avenue.
Is that good with everybody?
Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay,
So then we will have a motion to vote.
So do we have a motion?
I saw
So
Diane, Dean,
Okay.
Steve, Daniel,
Okay.
perfect.
So moved.
Second,
Okay.
Second, third, fourth.
Bear with me.
I mean, this is the fun stuff to vote on.
Yeah.
Chip, make sure my organization, my nonprofit gets an application, please.
Yes, I will.
Thank you,
You're
sir.
on the list, I know, so.
Love, perfect, thank you.
Well, everyone, I really don't, oh, here we go. Okay. Phew. It wasn't popping up. Here we go. Fifth Avenue Festival is up. Okay, this is for board members only.
Would imagine. It's unanimous. There we go.
Okay, everyone, it's unanimous.
Perfect.
Next item on the agenda, moving along pretty quickly, is the Holy Cross Greek Festival, which will take place on September 21st through September 24th. It's SAPO event ID 687296. The event time is 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., including setup and breakdown. The location is Ridge Boulevard from 85th Street to 86th Street. Let's see, do we have the applicant here?
Didn't see him.
Oh, wait, here's Evans. He's in the attendee. Hold on one second. Evans, you should be allowed to speak and turn on your camera.
All right, I'm unmuted, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, let me start video. There we go.
There you go.
Hi, everybody.
Bill,
How
can
are
you
you,
take
Evans?
down can you take down the
Evan,
poll
how are you?
results?
I did. I took it down.
You did?
Yes.
You have to X out of it.
Yeah,
I
to
think.
X out of
I'm
that,
sorry,
Steve.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. My
Okay.
fault. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, Evans, you're up.
Okay, I was just the stringer here. The couple of the other guys from our community, the chairman, George, he's actually on too, but they can't figure out how to hit the raise your hand button like I did.
Oh,
So,
okay, I could promote him. George is here. Okay, here we go.
yeah, George is the official chairman.
Okay, George, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
And I believe we also have Chris Ellison too from our community.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, Chris, you
How
should be
you doing?
on too.
How are you, Josephine?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So the festival, like you guys said, is the 21st, the 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. The music permit goes for until 10 o'clock. Streets are cleaned every night. And the festival is from 84th Street to 86th Street.
Okay. So last year, we did have stipulations. CB10 voted to approve the application for Holy Cross located at Ridge Boulevard between 84th and 86th Streets. From, I guess, the time that's the permit allows, set up at 10 a.m. and break down by 9:30. A stipulation that the music will end at 10 p.m. and an additional one to remove all rides by Tuesday. And that seemed to, I think that worked last year. We didn't receive any complaints about the rides last year.
Yes, they got the rides out pretty quick last year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was riding Angelo from as he was setting them up. I said, Angelo, I don't want any problems. Make
Okay.
sure the rides are out of here. So he complied, which was good. And I guess we'll just do the same thing again this year.
Okay.
Great.
Do you have any questions?
Anybody? Questions?
No, we're good.
Comments? Good.
No, I would just like to say something.
Yep.
I'm a member of Holy Cross, so I'm speaking not as a board member, but a member of Holy Cross. And every festival we have, the funds are used for various things, but everybody may not be aware with our festival, the primary use of those funds is to support our parochial school. And I think over the past few years, and as recently as, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, we've heard how unfortunate it is that many parochial schools are closing, and ultimately it comes down to finances. So I want everybody to understand the importance of it in supporting the school. This is not just money that goes into a general fund. Without this money in the school, we'd have real difficulties. So I think it's important we all understand that also. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
Well, Josephine, you basically read the stipulations there. It's a shorter one. So
read
with
them.
that, do we have a motion to vote?
So
I'll
moved.
approve.
Hey, Steve.
Steve's on it. I saw Diane too. Okay.
Oh, I first did it, now I'll second it.
Okay, everyone. So Holy Cross Greek Cultural Festival is up. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josephine. Thank you so
Thank-
much.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Thank
guys.
you all. Okay, the last one really quick. This is actually a new event. It's Iftar Feast, the Fifth Avenue Bid. It's a one-day celebration, community celebration, sponsored by the Fifth Avenue Bid on April 12th from 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. The location will be Fifth Avenue from 71st Street to 72nd Street. This is a new event, although not new to Fifth Avenue, as Ballady and several other community groups have celebrated Iftar in the past, but it started out as a small event that has kind of grown on Fifth Avenue. And in the interest of making it a safe event, the bid decided to work with the interested participants and community to bring together this wonderful cultural event. It's a few hours, as you know. Chip, are you going to speak about the Iftar?
Kind of, yes. I'm working with the bid. The reason that you're saying it's new, it's because it's closing the street.
Closing the street, right? Yes.
That's the big issue. Before it was always on the sidewalks, and the crowd just expanded, and became unsafe. So it's better that they close the streets. I forget his name now. He is now the owner of Bellotti is the new chairman of the board of the Fifth Avenue Merchants, and the whole community down there has become a lot more active in participating in Fifth Avenue bid events. So we're looking forward to it. I mean,
Sounds
usually-
wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm usually off the month of April, but
Okay. Yeah.
not anymore. But it should
So
be
there are no,
a well-attended event, and also.
and with no prior stipulations, it's a smaller event too.
Yeah,
obviously,
so
right,
it's
just
only,
within the block.
it's a
Yeah,
few hours, really a street closure for
Yeah.
safety
Yes.
and,
right.
all right,
Okay.
any questions or a motion?
The motion.
I move.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, Dean,
Steve,
Sandy?
Dean, Sandy, yeah,
Okay.
okay. Whoa,
Second,
Okay.
third,
Marco, Polo.
Okay, okay, everyone. Do you see the,
no, not yet.
no? Well, everyone by show of hands because it's not working. So. There we go. Okay.
Aye.
It's
Aye.
unanimous. Very good.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Thank you all. Okay. So that concludes our street festivals, Anthony. Moving
you so
on.
much.
Anthony, can I just say one thing about the Third Avenue?
Dan, please do.
We're preparing the summer strolls as right now. The applications don't have to go in until April 23rd, but we'll have them in early next week or the week after. It's going to be different this year. It's going to be we're not going to have any stages. We're not going to have any music other than
Oh,
if a restaurant or merchant wants to put something out. Last year it was run like a festival, and we want to move away from that and make it more user-friendly for the neighborhood as opposed to a festival. So it'll have a different look to it, and it'll also be in 4 consecutive weeks. The DOT, I don't want to say threatened, but told us that we probably couldn't get funding if we didn't do it in 4 consecutive weeks. So it's a little more work for us, but that's the way we get the last 2 weeks in July and the first 2 weeks in August. Just keep that in the back of your head.
Okay,
Very
great.
cool. Okay.
We'll have you back in May then, I'm sure.
Say that
Hey,
again?
Joe-
I
Joe,
said,
you
we'll
want
have
to
you
put-
back in May.
Yes.
Joe, you want to put the results of the vote in the record?
Yes. Yes, for the iftar?
Iftar, yes.
Yes, I did. I made a
All right.
note that it was unanimous. The poll wasn't working. I don't know why. I couldn't press the button.
I had nothing to do with it, Joseph.
I don't know. Technology. Okay, so that closes the festivals. We're moving on now to the MTA Brooklyn bus redesign. Doris?
okay. Just as a little background,
I don't see
Um,
Doris. I don't see.
I
Doris.
have a new computer, and for some reason the camera's not working, and I didn't test it till now. So you remember what I look like, right, Steve?
Barely.
And I even combed my hair. So,
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, man.
okay, so for some background, where are my notes?
I do have a PowerPoint up. Can
Oh,
everyone-
yes, we met on this in December, and we went through all of the changes and we discussed it then. Then in February, the MTA held a workshop, which many people attended. And since then, Josephine has put together a PowerPoint with some of the changes. So I think we'll go through the PowerPoint and then go on for discussion.
I don't know, must be some night, but can everyone see it?
Yes.
Sure.
It's not full screen though, so we see it like, yeah, there you go. That's full screen now.
Okay. So the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign. I'll just go really quickly. I mean, Dan Hedix last month, he gave a pretty good presentation before the board, before this committee. And we went through each line basically and what the changes were, and mostly, and we'll run through it really quickly, by each bus line located within Community Board 10. On the B1 really maintains its existing routing. There's no frequency or service span changes. There are some removals that are listed on the screen. We did hear from some residents about concerns about the southbound 86th Street Dahlgren, as it's the site of the new middle school, and potentially that might be a problem. The B4 has a reroute along Stillwell Avenue in Gravesend, not in Board 10. There are no frequency or service span changes. However, there are a number, as you could see here, of stops proposed to be removed. 77th Street at Colonial Road, we heard feedback that the walk is very steep for seniors. Bay Ridge Parkway at 4th Avenue. The stop on 5th Avenue is about a block away, so on either side of 4th, they're proposing to remove 4th Avenue. Bay Ridge Parkway at 7th Avenue. In the time from our last meeting, we heard from several residents concerned that this is a transfer point to the B70 into Sunset Park, Brooklyn's Chinatown. It is more heavily used. The MTA did not have data on bus stop ridership to share with the board. They mentioned that at the public hearing. That was a question that was raised. So following our last meeting and the MTA's public hearing, we did hear from many residents who contacted the district office specifically about this transfer point. And there are a number here, as you could see, of proposed bus stop removals. We also heard testimony last month. A suggestion was made to reroute this line to Shore Road. Oh, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. Because of problems at 77th Street and Narrows Avenue being the last stop. Residents expressed concern, about, some problems at that particular bus stop, with being the last stop, unruly passengers, etc. And again, the Bay Ridge Parkway at 7th Avenue stop, the transfer points of the B70, which you could see here a little bit on the screen. This is the stop on Bay Ridge Parkway at 7th Avenue, where many people and some students we heard from do transfer from the B4 to the B70 here. So this stop elimination would be a problem. The B8, there are minor routing changes, really not within District 10 at the end of the line in Brownsville. The weekday frequencies are slightly increased to 10 minutes or better. The weekend frequencies are slightly increased as well. There are no service span changes proposed at this time. But there are, again, a large number of bus stop removals proposed. Eastbound at Polly Place and 7th Avenue, eastbound Cropsey Avenue by the Veterans Hospital, westbound Cropsey Avenue at 14th, also westbound Cropsey opposite the VA Hospital, westbound 7th Avenue again, the MTA says to improve speed and reliability. And so pretty much the bus stops within the VA Hospital are kept, but the ones outside along the park side have been proposed to be removed. The B9, the existing route would be maintained. Weekday frequencies would be slightly increased. Saturday frequencies would be increased. No service span changes along the B9. They do propose the elimination of the Bay Ridge Avenue at Narrows Avenue stop. The eastbound 4th Avenue at 65th Street. This is the only stop that serves the Bay Ridge Towers. Both the eastbound and the westbound stops are proposed to be removed. We had a lot of feedback following those two meetings from residents of the Bay Ridge Towers and other residents who utilize this stop. What kind of makes it more difficult is that the elimination of the 65th Street stop would require residents of the towers to either walk to 63rd Street, get off the 63rd Street and walk back, or Senator Street and require them to cross that 67th Street entrance to the Belt Parkway, which, if everyone knows, it's multi-lanes that feed onto the Belt Parkway entrance there. So the Bay Ridge Center interns who you see here, and we actually have one on the call here, Nicole, put together a survey because they have lots of members who would be impacted by the bus changes. We kind of went out and hit the streets and spoke to commuters at the bus stops, both impacted by the removal of the stop on 4th Avenue and 65th Street, as well as speak to seniors at the center about the changes to the B64, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And Nicole is here to provide some feedback as well. The B16 is rerouted in Borough Park, not in the Board 10 section. Midday and early evening weekday frequencies were increased. The service span is also slightly increased, as you could see to the right. In Board 10, there's lots of removal, again, of bus stops. For Hamilton Parkway, you can see they're all listed here. I highlighted some of the ones that we received specific calls about since our last meeting. The Fort Hamilton Parkway at 77th Street. This is the last stop in Dyker Heights. It's located diagonally across from PS 127. So we heard from two employees of the school that utilized this bus, and it was just very surprising that the bus stop was removed. It's quite a distance from the prior stop at 75th Street, so it would be a longer walk to PS 127 parents or employees who utilize the 16 to travel there, as well as Dyker Heights residents. For Hamilton Parkway at 68th Street is the connection to the library and the local supermarket there. For Hamilton Parkway at 70th Street, we heard from seniors who like to access shops and students who utilize this space, utilize this stop in great number. Shore Road at 91st Street, we talked a little bit about it last time. This is the stop right in front of Shore Hill, which is always full and makes 0 sense. And just lots of stops generally were removed along the 16 that several concerns were raised. This is a photo of the B16 stop at 77th Street. So you could see this is where the bus stop is, and right here is PS 127.
All right.
The bus then turns right here. So I just thought, and the stop before this is Bay Ridge Parkway near McKinley Park. So it's a walk. And it just is unusual. And we did get some calls, so I wanted to let committee members know that. The B37, which is the 3rd Avenue bus, maintains its existing route. There are no frequency or service band changes. There are some removals of bus stops that are being proposed. They're listed here to the right, both northbound and southbound. We did hear lots of feedback about the elimination of the stop in front of Food Town, which doesn't really seem to make any sense. It's heavily used. I went to Google Earth, and every picture that was on Google Earth had people in the bus stop. So I thought it was a good idea to share that with the committee tonight. Also, 4th Avenue at 100th Street is also a popular bus stop, which is a connection point. There's a deli there, Last Stop Deli, and there's doctor's offices nearby. So we heard some feedback about that. The B63, which is the 5th Avenue route, had also had removal of northbound and southbound stops that they're listed here to the left. Again, some of the feedback of concern about, taking away bus stops that are located near, within the shopping districts, and, what potentially the impact. I mean, the goal that the MTA discussed at its meeting is really to improve, efficiency and create, faster bus service. But quite a few in Bay Ridge on Fifth Avenue are also proposed to be removed. The B64 will no longer serve Bay Ridge Avenue to the pier. Instead, it will turn to Fourth Avenue and provide a new connection to Brooklyn Army Terminus and the NYU Langone Hospital. It will be rerouted in Coney Island, but that's not, within Ward 10. The reroute to Sunset Park Waterfront instead of Shore Road. Frequencies are increased. Service span is slightly increased, which you could see here. The dotted area is the area that's proposed to be removed. We had lots of feedback about this change. Many students utilize this route to get to Zavarian, who travel from Bensonhurst in this direction. Also seniors who will be going to the new senior center at Bay Ridge Avenue and Shore Road would be required to transfer at Bay Ridge Avenue at Fourth Avenue to the B9. And while, older adults, it is a big impact to have a transfer.
It also serves the pier, doesn't it?
And
Yes.
yes, and the ferry.
Yes.
And the pier,
Yeah, I was
correct.
gonna say,
The ferry.
you go to the ferry. Like,
Correct.
But
yes.
I'm saying, so you get, this makes no sense at all.
none of this makes sense.
It also the botanical gardens that we have down there.
That's right.
I mean,
Correct.
this doesn't make a lot of sense.
Plus,
Right.
the Owl's Head Park is right there.
Owl's Head Park. It really
And
serves.
various elected officials hold events there, so it limits access to any event that's held at the pier or the
Correct.
park.
This makes no
It's
sense at all.
absurd. It's absurd.
There's a lot of this is, oh man.
Yeah. And lots of B64, removal of bus stops, both northbound and southbound. So there will be, because of the change, there'll be some new bus stops that are added.
Just a question: is it fait accompli now, or is this you're just
No,
this is
no.
still proposals, right?
Yes, this is a proposal. It's, in the proposal public feedback stage. So what the MTA is saying, they want public feedback. They're holding their own civic engagement public hearings. The Traffic and Transportation Committee members did attend the meeting that was held for District 10. There were about 125 participants at that call, which, we did advertise and publicize it as well. We had our first meeting on the changes, the proposed changes last month. So we decided that we would have our own public hearings and our own public review and provide formal comments during the month of March to the MTA. So this is just a quick review. Lots of B70 route changes. I'm sorry, this is wrong. It's not route changes. It's bus stop changes that are removed. Northbound stops and southbound stops, as you could see here on the screen. And there were lots of changes to the express buses, the X27 and 28, X37 and 38 have, are being, the routes are being changed. As you can see here, the X28 is now being renamed to the BM8C. They've kind of shortened them a bit on some of the routes. It's kind of like they made little annexes, little changes to the routes from Bay Ridge to Lower Manhattan, and then one of them goes from Bay Ridge to Midtown Manhattan. And we heard a lot of feedback about the number of bus stop removals of the express buses. You could see them here. They're quite a few. And many of the express bus riders who attended both the MTA's public meeting as well as our meeting last month seem to really feel that a lot of the bus stop removals and eliminations don't really make sense, that that the express bus does run smoothly. There is lots of, local residents who rely upon, both for commuting to work as well as, socially, to doctor's visits, to go into Manhattan to go out to eat or to go to shows. So some of the changes really didn't make sense to them, nor the removal of the bus stop changes. Here is the X28 to the BM8C with bus stop removals. A lot of midday eliminations, as you could see here, midday service. The MTA said because, the ridership is lower during the midday. So they are proposing reductions there to many of the express buses. Here's the X38, BM38 stop changes. This more in Dyker Heights. Reduced midday service changes, bus stop eliminations. That's kind of the feedback we heard, just don't make sense. And then I put some of the maps up here just to illustrate, the local route pretty much is similar to the, X27. Where the changes are really in Manhattan. There seems to be a downtown loop and then a midtown, route. And that holds true too for the BM8, which is, our Dyker Heights, runs from Gravesend to downtown, midtown Manhattan. And that was really just a quick summary. Daniel, you had your hand raised. I didn't see.
No, I just raised it. You caught it almost immediately.
Oh, okay.
But so I'm just a little, I was a little confused still on the Manhattan side redesign. So are those buses still essentially serving Midtown Manhattan, or are people basically going to have to get off and transfer in the financial district?
Yeah, from what was explained, and Doris, you could correct me if I'm wrong. So there'll be one line that does not serve. So say it's the BM8. I think the BM8 runs only to downtown Manhattan. And then there's another version of that will go to Midtown. So like, it seems like within one route, there'll be two, like the BM8C versus the BM8. So like the 8 will be downtown and the C will go to Midtown.
The C only operates during non-peak hours.
Right.
So the BM8 or the BM7 goes to the last stop. What was it, Duane Street or?
Yeah, Worth Street.
Which one?
Worth or Duane. It was Worth or Duane.
Yes, and if you want to go to Midtown, you have to make sure that you're on the BM3, whatever it would be, with the 37 or the 38, whatever the new designation of that is.
Right.
And then my understanding is that during non-peak hours, the BM7C and the BM8C would go the entire length from the start in Brooklyn all the way to 57th Street. I believe that is how it's supposed to be running.
Right. So, you're correct. The BM7C, the proposed route summary, off-peak combo variants. They describe them as variants, Daniel. I couldn't remember the word variant.
Yeah.
Of the existing X27 would be relabeled to be consistent with most express routes. The existing path would be maintained. As an express route, stops on local streets would be spaced, their proposal slightly farther apart. Let's see, spans would be shortened and frequencies on weekends would be reduced due to low ridership on some trips. And we did hear that the reduction in ridership is their reason for the, reducing service, but
They have no numbers.
right.
Of course they don't.
They didn't
Yeah.
provide us with the ridership numbers.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
just way too confusing for commuters to understand.
Agreed.
I
It's
mean,
ridiculous.
I found it confusing. I mean, there were like about 8 pages of BM4C, BM7, BM7C, the BM8, BM8C. I mean, it's
Even the changing of the name from the X to B, it doesn't, it just, it's so unnecessary.
Yeah,
Very, very.
X
Well, I think
28,
that's to be consistent with other boroughs.
But it doesn't make
Yeah.
a difference. I mean, they're going to have to spend money, number one, to change all the signage
yeah,
everywhere.
right,
in
Right.
Brooklyn and Manhattan, and commuters are going to be confused. They should
Yeah.
leave it alone and
yeah.
just
It ain't broke,
advertise.
don't fix it.
You know, if they want to add the C to the BM 27C, that, you know, then we'll know that that is the one that goes local all the way up to 57th Street.
And in a community where it's hard enough to get around with the local train that we have and everything, like doing all this, I mean, and we
Yeah.
just got the new ferry, right? The express ferry, but now we have less ways to get there.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And I mean, I feel too, if they're worried about low ridership, cutting off service to Midtown Manhattan or severely limiting like that is going to drive ridership down even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, you have your hand raised? Oh,
You're
you're on mute,
muted.
Dan.
You're on mute.
Yeah.
Mute.
Can I ask what, yeah, you know, I'm a board member of Public Transportation Safety Board. It's like the NTSB, but for buses and trains for New York State DOT. And the ridership is raising now. I think they did this survey during the COVID where the
Oh my
ridership was way
God.
down.
Yeah.
With their eyes closed.
I can't imagine that they would, that they, if they did a survey now, the survey would be much different than it was a year or two ago.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yes. Also, I just want to introduce the committee members to Nicole Rossetti. Nicole is here from the Bay Ridge Center. She's one of the interns that went out. And Nicole, maybe you could share a little bit about the survey that was produced and some of the findings, you know, for the committee members.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Rossetti. I'm a social work intern at the Bay Ridge Senior Center. And so I've been there since September, and one of the projects that I'm working on is Age Friendly in partnership with Josephine and Community Board 10. So we did compile a survey to basically depict the impact that this bus reroute is, you know, directly having on the seniors of not just our center, but the whole community. So the survey we have so far translated into Chinese, and we have another intern at the center who can translate it into different dialects of Chinese. So we have it in English and Chinese, and we're circulating it throughout the center in person to our members. And as Josephine mentioned, we went into the field. We went by the towers, the Bay Ridge Towers, and we went to the bus stop to see, you know, if we could distribute the survey to get feedback from actual community members. And we noticed that we needed to translate the survey into even more languages. So we're working on translating into Arabic, Spanish, and Russian. So we're working on that. In addition, with the survey, we had it made into a Google form, and this was sent out via our e-blast, which is like our newsletter for the center. So we have an email list, and it got sent out to all of the members of that. And we have thus far, as of this afternoon, 42 responses. And so far, the responses are overwhelming that we have 37 of them, I believe, were all yeses, that the members would be directly impacted by these changes. And there was like 7 no's, that people wouldn't be impacted, or they take other transportation that are not the B9 or the B64. And when we went out in the field, also the responses were consistent that, you know, the community members were saying, even if they weren't seniors, they were saying that they would be directly impacted by these changes. So we're going to keep circulating our survey so that that data can be presented in the meeting on March 20th with the MTA, so that we can further our findings and try to really have advocacy and speak on behalf of not just our seniors in the community, but everyone in the neighborhood.
Thank you, Nicole.
Awesome. Good job.
Yes. So when we went out and we spoke to a lot of the older adults in our community, they were all very vocal in, you know, a little frustrated too, not knowing about the proposal. They were happy to learn about it and happy to provide feedback. And I do think that there's a greater impact just from our field work, walking and speaking to commuters. It was very impactful. So thank you, Nicole. And
Thank you.
we'll also share the survey out and present it as an update after the committee recommendation to the full board on March 20th. Any other questions? Steve?
Yeah, I'm just a question. Did they ever consider like, in some of these, they're saying, well, it just doesn't have much ridership or something of that nature, yet it's very important to the people who do ride it. Did they ever consider like using smaller buses as a savings or something of that nature? I mean, I have no idea whether that would be workable, but if it's certain times, they say, like it's the evening, why are we running buses that, can put 60, 70 people on it when 25 might be sufficient? I'm just wondering.
I have an answer. This came up several years ago and it was recommended. And the MTA came back and said that the largest expense of running a bus is the driver.
Mhm.
So the driver and all the benefits affiliated with that, it's a major cost of running a bus, and they didn't feel it was warranted to run smaller buses. I don't know if that should be reconsidered, but it could be suggested again.
Well, it not only is that good for, because it would be cheaper, but it would also be good for the environment.
Yes.
There's other things to
Yes.
look at besides, the driver is the most expensive thing. But I'm just, listening here and I'm saying it's odd. I never even thought about it before now. And I said to myself, is there not another way that we could put in savings and, through without being so disruptive? Because I think basically what this comes down to is that we're minimizing the size of the transportation system when we need more, not less.
We need more.
Just
Yeah.
a thought.
Yeah.
Diane?
I just want to bring up once again something that was brought up at our other meetings, the fact that when the buses come around, multiple buses come together. And so if they're considering ridership with multiple buses coming, and certainly everyone's going to get on the first bus and the second bus is going to be empty, they should do something about their time schedule and how the foreman or whoever it is that tells the bus to go, he needs to do a better job, because quite often, I'll wait for the bus at 4th Avenue and 69th Street when I get off the subway, and three B9s come together or two B9s come together. Then you have to wait a half an hour before another one comes. So I think that,
and I make the argument that they're eliminating bus stops in Bay Ridge, but Bay Ridge is the terminus for all of these lines.
Right.
And the problems in the slow service are elsewhere in Brooklyn. And that's the areas they need to address. And in the workshop, I suggested that they make greater efforts to have bus stops clear, to have no vehicles blocking bus stops, and to make them easily reportable and a more effective way of removing them, because that's what slows things down very much, among other things. And, but yeah, the bunching is mostly as the result of things coming here, not leaving here. And there are very few dispatchers. They've eliminated many of the dispatchers.
Doris, we have some members of the public with their hands raised.
Sure.
Jean Ryan? Jean, do you have a
Hi.
question?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
present. Well, I take the express bus and, but I don't take it regularly and I don't always take it from the same place. And I would just, I don't know if I'd even be able to take it if they change the system, because it's so complicated if you just take it some of the time. And a lot of seniors only do take it if they have a medical appointment or they're going in for something special in non-rush hour periods. So I think I know I've seen what they say. They say that they want it to be comparable to the other express bus numbering. I don't think that really matters that much. I mean, really? And then the other thing is that I'm president of Disabled in Action of Metropolitan New York, and we're 53 years old, and we represent people with disabilities from all over the city. And when they take away stops, it's really difficult. It's really difficult anyway, because there aren't benches and shelters at all the bus stops. And so if somebody has to walk further, they're going to be tired. And they need to sit down and wait for the bus, and they're going to decrease the frequency of some of these buses. So that's going to mean a longer wait. And I know somebody who can no longer take the bus because there is no place to sit and wait for the bus to come. So I think we should really push for bus stops everywhere. I mean, bus shelters everywhere, and at least benches.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Next, let's see, we had someone sign up to speak, I think who called in, Maureen Dolan. Maureen, are you on? I enabled you to speak. You should be able to unmute. Okay, she's unable, probably unable. She is from the Bay Ridge Towers and sent in written. We
Okay.
we have one other hand raised, Peter Pumpkin. Peter? You should be able to speak. Peter? Is he on here? Peter, I see your hand raised. I did unmute you. You should be able to just hit the space bar or the unmute at the bottom of your screen. I don't know.
Or
Maybe you could write your question in the
in the
chat.
chat.
Yeah. Okay, I feel terrible. I did unmute on my end. I'm sorry. Doris, I'll bring it back to you if we see a chat.
Yes, and I mean, I don't want to go through my two previous reports. But it's clear that they are making changes to supposedly increase reliability and to make the routes faster, but they're making it more inconvenient. And they give us absolutely no data. They could not give us data. I don't believe they have data.
No.
I don't think,
No.
so how can they make changes like this without any data? I recommend.
Yeah,
And,
no, we've seen that before and I mean, this is.
Right. And,
This is all I'm sorry, this is all proposed, but is this like it's proposed, but it's happening type of thing, or,
well, in the Queens redesign, they did make changes. In the
Okay.
Bronx redesign, they did make changes.
Okay,
So
okay.
I think we have to be very forceful. I would recommend that we say we do not support the removal of any bus stops in
Mhm.
Bay Ridge, and we make a list of the most egregious. And we do not support any of the changes without data to support these actions.
Agreed. I would second that.
Dan, use your hand up again.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I personally think that our comments might be a little bit more impactful if we focus on the changes that are actually problematic. I don't want the MTA to disregard what we're proposing just because we're saying we don't, we're leading with we don't want anything to change.
Right. At the bus forum, someone made an excellent argument about the need for bus service along Shore Road. If you're a resident of Shore Road, it's a nightmare to get to other mass transit, if you live on Shore Road and 88th Street, a stop they're planning to eliminate, to get to the 3rd Avenue bus or the 4th Avenue subway station, it's a hike.
Yeah, it's a hike.
And same for residents, so they shouldn't be eliminating stops. They should be encouraging mass transit. And I think, I think I had a pretty good list, and Josephine added more. the elimination of the Bay Ridge Park where the B70 and the B4 meet. That's an important transfer, and we should not be eliminating, making things more difficult. Do you want to go through some of my original list and some of the ones we added now? Or do you want to just bring up yours? I'm happy.
Sure,
Dean.
yeah, I'm happy. I also don't want to hold things up.
No, that's
I'm-
okay.
I'm with you. I think on like most of the specifics. I just, that one point to lead it off with.
Well, that sense of just like,
Maybe-
we don't want anything to change is a
Right.
sort of like
We can-
immediately like negative, right?
well,
Yeah.
we-
Exactly, yeah.
We can list the most egregious ones and then say that we don't support these changes.
Yeah.
How's that? Yes, I'm okay with that. Dean, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to agree with Daniel. I think we should, as you just said, list the ones that really affect us the most, because saying we don't want any changes, they may
Okay.
ignore us. Then.
Yeah. I do agree. I think, we could certainly express, great concern about the lack of ridership data that accompanied this proposal, and really focus upon, really what we've heard, the older adults who, and those who speak other languages who, it's important to echo their, everyone's concerns about the plan, and maybe go through some of the routes specific, that were raised. I mean, I would say at the top of that list, could be the B9, B64,
Yes.
heavily used by seniors, the, ending the terminus at 4th Avenue. That's a big change for us here in Bay Ridge. We don't have many bus lines that go down to Shore Road, especially along Bay Ridge Avenue. I don't know, do we list
Okay.
each route? Is that what you think we should do? Go by each route and list? the
I did, when I gave my January report, I really did go through that, and I can do a more detailed one and to add to the MTA's absurdity, they said they're going to do community outreach, and they plan to do it in 2 locations.
Oh, God.
At Fort Hamilton Parkway and 92nd Street, and at 86th Street and 4th Avenue, 2 locations where there are no changes. So I suggested several additional locations, and I don't know what they're going to do. So in our recommendation, should we add that we want community outreach at stations that are eliminated? Stops that are eliminated?
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want, Steve, can I speak?
Yes.
Is this a mandatory thing in order for them to make the changes? In other words, they're saying they're doing this, but it occurs to me, on what basis are they doing it? Are they doing it because they feel this is the way it's right, it has to be done? Or in order to remove a certain number of bus stops, is there some kind of a rule or a law somewhere that says they have to get input? I'm not clear on this.
Well, what the MTA did say to us, or did say at the meeting, is that this is the first time that the networks have been redesigned since the trolley times. So they prefaced, each of the meetings that I was in attendance at, that they are looking for feedback to their redesign. And I think they are mandated. I don't know what the rule is, but to provide, public outreach and public comment.
But isn't that, I'm thinking about it, is that if it says that they have to get public outreach and public comment,
They have to listen.
it would seem to me, well, they have to listen, but they don't have to heed. There's a slight difference there. But the question I'm having is that, is there a legal standard that governs this? Because and it's funny, I never even thought about that. Here we are, they're saying, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But, and it might even be that they say, well, we're mandated to do it. But shouldn't we ask them like under what section of the law that they are mandated to do this, so that we can look at it and determine whether in fact we believe they're complying with that?
Yeah, so they broke down the process as, commencing with a draft plan for public outreach, then reviewing comments and incorporate feedback, developing a proposed final plan, and then coming back out to the public with proposed final plan, public outreach. That's the steps that they outlined.
But they don't outline what they base that on. And it's a public, I mean, this is a public agency, and most of those public agencies, when they make changes, I mean, that's been my experience, have some kind of regulations or rules or laws, okay, that govern what they're about to do. And it just seems to me that this is such a, I mean, this is the core of what the MTA does, so that there has to be some kind of like legal underpinning that they are basing this on. And just the very fact that they don't even mention it, gets me a little bit queasy.
Good point.
I'm just throwing it out because I'm saying, couldn't we just say to them, ask them that question? Is there any a standard or legal standard that that when you do this kind of a thing, that you have to do certain types of outreach or anything of that nature? It may well be that there isn't, and that they just leave it up to the MTA itself. But I find it hard to believe that there's no guideline at all.
It's a good point. Dean?
Yeah, I think as an agency, it just comes under their mandate to, constantly review, because every 3 months they review the bus schedules. It's standard operating procedure for them. So I think all of this comes under the mandate to run an efficient agency, as efficient that you want to consider the MTA. But I think it just comes under their general operating procedures, Steve.
But Dean, I agree with you. But if you think about that, most agencies will have a protocol that's already been put into effect previously that says to them how often they have. In other words, supposing they gave it to the MTA and they said to them, "Here, do whatever you want," okay? Because that's what we're basically saying, okay? If that existed. Does that mean that they can do whatever they want, that they never have to look at anything, that if they don't want to? I mean, it just seems to me that usually there's some kind of a parentheses around what they can and what they can't do. How far does it go? Is the police department supposed to be consulted, right? I don't know.
Yeah, well, they when they change schedules, they put it out to all the different city agencies. They put it out for public comment. I know they do that. How much they listen, I don't know. But they're every 3 months, like I said, they review the bus schedules. They change some of them. It's again the way they operate. So I don't know. Maybe they need some other mandate legally.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. It just seems to me that this. I mean, I recognize that it's an independent, public agency or whatever they call it again, authority. Right? It's an authority. And so the authority can go out there, but can the authority just operate in the blind without having any kind of protocol whatsoever as to how often they review these things or what a review should consist of? It just seems to me that, I recognize it's been a long time since theoretically they've done this, but are they supposed to have done it more often? It just seems to be very loosey-goosey.
I don't think I think they really did this as a mission to address bus ridership decline.
I agree.
Is pretty much what they said. This really began before the pandemic. I'm just reading here in the summary. Bus ridership in Brooklyn fell 14% from 2016 to 2019. And it was attributed to a variety of factors: slower bus speeds, decreased reliability, modal shifts to other transportation, including the subway, and demographic changes.
2016 to 2019
The data for this
seems
year.
completely invalid at this point.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like completely invalid. We live in a totally different world than we did back in 2019. So many more people are using public transportation. And in our neighborhood, you need a bus to a train to a ferry. You know, you have to and parking spots are being taken from us, so people aren't using cars. So you're taking parking spots. We can't have cars. Now we can't have buses either. Like, where does it end? It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense.
Seems contradictory.
You know, the other
Yeah.
thing that they, I wonder if they use data in terms of not necessarily with ridership, but with the speed of buses. Before they implemented all the segregated bus lanes, you know, that were supposed to speed up the buses to begin with. So
Right.
I'm wondering how that factors into this.
Mhm.
If they're using old data,
Right.
they need to do another study.
And don't they track the buses now? Aren't there apps now you could use to see, like Diane was saying, you have two B9s coming at the same time, and isn't there an easier way to make sure that stuff like that isn't happening, to
Oh, there is.
oversee?
There
Yeah,
absolutely
right.
is.
Yeah, there has to. I mean,
Yes, without a doubt.
right. This is the like taking stops. So the stop in front of Food Town. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, families literally use that. They go from school, after school. I see, you see kids there with their parents, groceries in hand. That's how, like, how do you take that away? It makes it just, it's.
I mean, they had a metric that bus stops are supposed to be so many feet apart,
Mhm.
and they used that metric and didn't look at what was happening on the ground. They did not look outside the bus. And
That's exactly right, Doris. They were using the metric in terms of distance so they can eliminate stops without considering if I don't know, maybe there was some consideration, but basically without consideration to what stores were there, but what people were doing at particular stops. They're just using the metric of distance.
right. Okay.
Oh, that's kind of like, if they decided, they one day came along and said to them, you don't really need a public transportation system here, and they decided to eliminate it. I mean, how do you, I mean, they could do that, right? Pursuant to what you're saying,
Right.
And here we are almost on a mini scale doing that, taking it away from, say,
We're
Short Hill.
reducing access.
Mhm.
Exactly.
By reducing access. Yes.
And I remember at the meeting, at the workshop, someone mentioned the fact that this is it's a public service thing. And so that they should be increasing the accessibility to the buses rather than eliminating.
Right.
Well, when
Okay.
you're taking parking spots away, right, for bikes, and you're taking parking spots away for rideshare, and you're taking parking spots away for neighborhood loading zones, and you're taking parking spots, and then Diane is correct, right? You should be increasing. Then you're telling us we should be taking like, okay, then give me more options, because we're clearly if we're moving away from the car, then what are we doing?
If we want to encourage people to move away from cars, we have to have a very effective
Right.
mass transit system, and
Right.
they're working to reduce it.
Yeah. Is this something we can ask Justin Brandon's office about, of like the MTA, like standards of service or something like that, and sort of to follow up on Steve's question? Because I just know from like my work, a lot of like federal and state agencies, they're required to consider comments to some extent. They don't have to, accept them 100%, but there has to be some consideration. Would it possibly be helpful for us, for our own comment too, to get a sense of what exactly the standard is here that we should be speaking to?
Josephine previously said in 2 other boroughs, they did modify the plan based on feedback they got from the community. So I'm going to assume they will modify the plan to some degree based on our specific comments.
Yeah, but you know what, Dean, the operative term you just used was to some degree.
To some degree.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so they've done it to some degree, when in fact it may be that they have to do 180-degree turns sometimes. And it just there's something wrong with the system from its inception. That we're going to reduce things. That's what their aim is, rather than we're going to do the right thing. There's a difference.
And I read somewhere in the Bronx redesign, they increased bus speeds by 2%.
God.
Well.
I've sat here and chaired meetings, I'm sorry, where we were told that we were losing parking for neighborhood loading zones, losing parking for ride share, losing parking for bikes because there are so many other options and people shouldn't be using cars. I've been told that by how many different agencies.
Right.
And now I'm being told we don't use public transportation enough. So there's literally no data. Like there's just no data, and it's so clear, and it's insulting.
And one
It really-
agency does not speak to another agency.
Clear, because I've sat here and we've sat through meetings where we're told no one drives, no one does this, no one does that, everyone takes public transportation, so we don't need the parking. Okay, so now we're giving up parking, and now we're being told, well, nobody uses public transportation, nobody uses the bus. Well, which is it? I mean, right there. I mean, we're not we're not an uninformed community board. We know our neighborhood, and for them to come without data, I think is the most insulting thing every time. It's baseline insulting.
I mean, as Diane said, the agencies there's no communication between agencies.
Yeah.
In order for there to be a bus shelter and a bench in front of Food Town for the B37, the DOT had to put it there. There was no communication between the DOT and the MTA. As for the need for that.
And of all places, I mean, in front of a grocery store where you have seniors, et cetera, that is the most egregious, change that they suggested in as far as I'm concerned, in terms of removal of a bus stop. That is ridiculous.
That's another point that I want to make too, is Bay Ridge is constantly called a naturally occurring retirement community, right? That's what lots of seniors, right? Nicole, you're doing your internship at the new Bay Ridge Center, brand new center that's opened up for seniors. Like the seniors use public transportation. I mean, this should be a hub. It should be a hub.
And in the forum, there was a sense that we need better bus service because it's the only mass transit we have that is fully ADA compliant.
Right. Seniors are not getting on the R train. They're getting
Right.
on buses.
So we have a task at hand.
I'm fired up.
Yes, we have a task at hand to provide comments and feedback to the MTA on their Brooklyn bus network redesign. So I think formulating a motion to present to the full board. Yes.
Just one thing.
Sure.
I maybe it's better if they actually could read what we just argued about with amongst ourselves to see the concerns. And if we could give them a transcript, I don't know how that would work, if you can reduce this to a transcript and say, we want you to see the comments that were being made here by the board members.
They can watch the YouTube.
Pardon me?
This is being taped. They can watch the YouTube presentation.
We could send them the YouTube presentation.
Okay.
And set it up. But I mean, I wouldn't even mind if it was done in a transcript.
Transcript.
Transcript, yeah.
So they can, as saying, here are the concerns that people were talking about and why we feel that this is not being done right. And they'll hear it and say, it just seems to me that it encapsulates everything.
Yeah. I mean, to focus on the comment, does it make sense to sort of, do we want to split up maybe into like a here are discrete issues, here are sort of general issues, to sort of, because again, I think it's important for us to give the MTA specific things if they're not going to provide more data, which is possible. Like, we want to give them a list of specific requests for things to reconsider. So we sort of divide it up that way.
I think we could also, in a report to them, make a case why we don't think the plan in general is good for us, and then specifically address specific spots, specific locations. So we'll accomplish both.
Yeah, I
Because
go
I
along
don't
with that.
think they're going to eliminate the plan, but we could say we don't like the plan, we don't think the plan works for us, it's
Right.
detrimental, go through all the things we just said, but then also say, however, if the plan does move forward, these are specific concerns we have, something along those lines.
Stephanie, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I was just going to basically say what Dean is saying. If you were to lead with the general issues, like it's heavily populated by seniors. It's a transportation desert. There are all of the things that were enumerated earlier. And then in the subsections, list each route and the supporting evidence or the most egregious issues with each bus stop or bus stop removal that supports the general, the paragraph of general concerns.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, when I did my January report about the December meeting, I broke down comments by bus line. And I can go through this again and do specific stop removals per each bus line, and we can send it out and then you can all make comments. How does that sound?
Fine.
Yeah, that would work.
Doris, we have a hand raised from a member of the public.
Okay, sure.
Marie Murphy. Marie, you should be able to unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
I just have one comment. I was on the last Zoom that spoke about the buses, and it was the MTA people that was giving their speech. And if you listen to what they said about eliminating these bus stops, they were saving, and they gave examples. They were saving this lady 10 minutes time from her to get from her home to her job. And they were saving this man 10 minutes time to get from his home to his job. Now, eliminating all these bus stops, saving people 10 minutes time doesn't sound like they're accomplishing very much other than disturbing and annoying a maximum number of people. And if you watch the buses in Bay Ridge travel, other than on 3rd Avenue, maybe and on 5th Avenue, they travel very well with all their bus stops. And eliminating the bus stops isn't going to save them much time because they already move very well. And eliminating bus stops on 3rd Avenue and 5th Avenue isn't going to change their time going down the avenue, because it's not the bus stops that slow them down, it's the traffic that slows them down. And I think that's what you need to talk to these people about. It's not the bus stops, it's the traffic. And as someone else said, it's the cars and everything else that's in the bus stops that's slowing the buses down, not the stops. And all they're managing to do is annoy people with their new proposals. And they're not saving time, really. 10 minutes time on people's trips is not saving time. And the express buses, if I understood what they said, is really just a matter of changing the name of the bus from X27 to B7C, or X27 to B7, BM7. The BM7 will only go to the financial district, and the other one will go to Uptown. If you want to save time, instead of running the buses every 20 minutes, run them every 45 minutes or every 40 minutes. So people can plan their appointments based on how the buses run. Just a thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good thoughts.
It was interesting that they did mention people save 10 minutes, but they didn't say on what routes.
Well, they don't have the data.
The data, right?
Probably
Probably the
the
Madison
data.
Avenue bus.
Okay, so I thought that was a good suggestion. For a
Yes.
motion.
So we want to make a motion describing the transit conditions in Bay Ridge, that we are in Newark and seniors depend on this. We have many families with children taking buses. It's a transportation desert, and how these elimination of these stops will harm people.
And then list by route, some of, maybe.
The most egregious, not every single one, but
Right, right. Though, and that we've heard
Right.
mentioned. Okay, we could put that together.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure, are we going to be addressing the changes to Midtown service on the express buses? I know it's
yes,
technically out of here, but it seems.
it's part of the service that's being disrupted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I haven't focused on it because it's too bloody confusing to figure out. But since Josephine has it all, she'll send it to me. But no, we should definitely address it because it will severely impact people's lives.
Yeah, my ears started bleeding when I tried to read it.
I mean, I've read it, I've listened to it at the meeting, and just trying to map out the times for the variations and where they go, and to understand the midday absence and what the real schedule will be for, I'm a commuter and I want to go to Midtown. How will this impact me? I think we need to really focus on that too. The different.
Or I want to go to 23rd Street.
Yeah, there's just.
They have a whole staff of people working on this. And so for us to really grab it is saying a lot. And we have grabbed it, but
Yes.
they've got dozens of people working on this, not for days or months, for years.
Mhm. And I think too, like Anthony kind of said, to emphasize that especially the express bus is really an alternative for a lot of people, especially on Shore Road, to the R train.
Yeah.
They're better off.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's so important with the announcement that there is now this express ferry service from Bay Ridge, from the 69th Street Pier to
Absolutely.
Lower Manhattan. If you eliminate the B64, coming down to Shore Road, that's going to be quite detrimental to the service. And they're going to start saying, well, there's low ridership on the ferry. Maybe we don't need to have that service.
Oh, they'll do that so fast, so fast.
So I think that needs to be included in there as well.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, I think excellent points have been made about the data being really obsolete at this point. You've also made excellent points about how this is affecting our seniors, affecting our families who are shopping in the local area, affecting our commuters on Shore Road who rely on the service that's down there. So, and it's almost like the points that were made about the ridership spots, they were really, some of these details really kind of fit each of those bullets for each of those stops that you've mentioned, and we really had such great feedback from the community. And, thank Ms. Murphy for, also sharing this evening, because it is those people who are most affected by this, who really have so much to share and to bring to the board. So thank you. Everybody had great input, really.
So we have a motion.
Do
I
we
think
have
we
a
need a
motion, right?
second.
I second.
Could you just?
Oh,
tell me
review the
Okay.
motion. Yeah, review the motion.
Okay, it's we're making a motion to describe the mass transit problems in Bay Ridge, our need for mass transit for seniors and families, that we are a transit desert. By reducing stops, we are creating environmental issues. So that's our overview, and then address specific removal of stops per line. We'll work on the wording.
But I'm saying, but it's in accord with what everything we've discussed, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Could you just repeat that as a slow motion?
A general discussion of the mass transit situation in Bay Ridge. The need for seniors, the need for families, we're a transit desert. And then line by line, route by route, go through not every bus stop change, but the most egregious.
Yeah. And can we just add one more thing there that, these are things, I forget who it was, I think it was Anthony, but in today's world, we'd be, like, we should be looking for more public.
More transit, right.
Right.
There are members of the city council who said every bus and every subway line should run on 6-minute intervals.
It's absurd.
particularly because, like you're saying, the parking spaces are gone. People can't have cars. They want you to go away from that, but they're not providing you with.
Right, yes, and
I think that's got to be, that's an important part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what Daniel Loud had mentioned too, making sure we add in the express bus.
Express bus in Manhattan at time.
You start to take it personally, like they're trying to cut off Bay Ridge. Like, it feels just really silly.
Yeah, and I think the other point about the ferry, we just get the express ferry, and then you take away the way to get to the express ferry. It makes no sense. So they have to be dealing with each other.
Stephanie?
Just one other point from the last committee meeting we had, the residents who lived at 77th and Narrows, they were very, very concerned. That's the terminus for one of the buses. I don't know where it fits into this framework, but it was raised so many times if that somehow can be worked in.
Yes, that was in one of my slides, right? They had recommended that line be extended to Shore Road.
Right, but didn't the transit authority agree already on that point?
Well, I put that in the chat during the forum, and they said they would consider it.
Oh, okay.
That's as much as we got.
But it still should be part of our
letter.
Okay.
Yeah, it should absolutely.
That would be on my B4 list.
That we recommend that they consider that one highly.
Mm-hmm. And it will increase service to Shore Road, which is what we need to do. We are a community that's so fortunate to have so much parkland, and we should make it as accessible as possible.
Yep.
So do we have a motion?
Well, this is all part of it.
That's all of them. Yeah, it's.
I second it.
It's a 10-page motion.
It's a huge.
Diane seconded. Doris made it.
It's
clarified it. We'll tighten up the language, Doris and I. So my poll is not working, team. I don't know why, but
we're unanimous on this one.
Raise your hands. You're not unanimous.
Okay, it's unanimous.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. And I just want to say, Doris, that was nice seeing you, but I can't.
I tested. I just got a new PC, and I tested that Zoom worked, but I forgot about and I know the sound worked. I said, "Oh, the video's not working."
I have a good memory of you. Don't worry.
Thank you all.
And Doris just didn't want to get dressed.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
you,
Nicole.
All. Thank you again for your presentation. You did a great job. And
we look
so much. Thank you for having
forward
me.
to the survey results.
You have more data than they do, Nicole.
Yeah.
we have something to contest everything with.
Yeah, no, keep getting that data. Keep doing it because it's going to matter. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dean, try not to hit the beach too much.
Try to sit out of the sun.
All
Do
right.
we have a motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion
from Florida.
Okay.
Seconded.
Thank you.
I'm in Florida too, Dean.
Oh boy, you guys can go meet on the bocce courts.
Thank
all right.
you all. All right.
Take care.